The rain didn't fall. It attacked. Zariah's lungs burned as she ran barefoot across wet gravel, Ethan's hand locked tightly in hers. The night swallowed them whole, thunder roaring, gunshots cracking behind them like fireworks of death. "Don't look back," Li Wei shouted. She didn't. Because if she looked back, she might stop running. And stopping meant dying. They reached the waiting car just as the mansion behind them exploded into chaos, flames licking the windows, alarms screaming like a dying animal. Li Wei shoved Ethan into the back seat and turned to Zariah. "Seatbelt," he barked. The engine roared alive. The tires screamed. Bullets shattered the rear glass as they tore down the mountain road, darkness closing in from all sides. Ethan didn't cry. That scared her more than the gunfire. He sat rigid, eyes forward, jaw clenched, like a soldier who had been waiting for this moment his whole life. Zariah reached back and pulled him close. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm not letting you go." Ethan swallowed hard. "I know," he said. "But they're not going to stop." Li Wei glanced at him in the mirror. "No," he agreed grimly. "They won't." The city lights disappeared behind them. Li Wei made a sharp turn into an unmarked road and hit a hidden switch. The dashboard lights went dark. Zariah's heart jumped. "What are you doing?" "Erasing us," Li Wei said. The car plunged into a tunnel carved into rock, old, abandoned, invisible to satellites. Zariah felt it then. This wasn't escape. This was preparation. Li Wei stopped the car inside a cavern lit with cold white lights. Men stepped out of the shadows, armed, disciplined, loyal. Zariah stiffened. "Who are they?" she whispered. Li Wei met her gaze. "My real family." Her blood ran cold. Ethan looked between them. "So this is it," he murmured. "This is the war you were all hiding from me." Li Wei stepped out and opened Ethan's door. "You are no longer a child," he said quietly. "But you are not a weapon either." Ethan lifted his chin. "Then stop treating me like one." Silence. Zariah realized something terrifying in that moment. Her son was no longer waiting to be protected. He was preparing to choose. And whatever choice he made, it would cost them everything. The first rule of running was silence. Zariah learned that within hours. The safe house was buried beneath an abandoned textile factory on the outskirts of Suzhou, concrete walls thick enough to swallow sound, air heavy with oil and iron. No windows. No signals. No names spoken aloud. Li Wei's men moved like shadows with purpose. Each of them carried scars that told stories no one dared ask about. Ethan sat on a steel bench, elbows on his knees, eyes sharp and distant. He hadn't slept. Not really. Neither had Zariah. She watched him from across the room, heart aching with a mixture of pride and terror. 16 years stolen. And now the world wanted the rest. Li Wei stood near a map pinned to the wall, red strings crisscrossing continents like veins. Cities circled in black ink. Names scratched out. This wasn't a billionaire's hobby. This was a war room. "They won't find us here," Zariah said quietly, more prayer than certainty. Li Wei didn't turn. "They already know where we are." Her heart slammed. "What?" "They're not hunting us," he continued calmly. "They're hurting us." The words settled like a gun on the table. Ethan looked up. "So, this is part of the trap?" Li Wei finally faced him. "Yes." Zariah surged to her feet. "You brought us here knowing they could strike?" Li Wei's eyes didn't flinch. "I brought you here because this is the only place where they will speak instead of shoot." Before she could argue, every light in the room flickered, then went out. A low hum replaced the silence. Backup generators. Li Wei's men stiffened, weapons raised. A single screen on the far wall lit up. White. Empty. Then, a man appeared. He sat comfortably in a leather chair, wearing a charcoal suit, hands folded like he was about to deliver a sermon. His hair was silver, his eyes sharp, calculating, disturbingly familiar. Zariah's knees weakened. She knew that face. She had seen it in mirrors, in old photographs, in the sleeping face of her twin. Her blood turned to ice. "Hello, my daughter," the man said gently. The room stopped breathing. Li Wei's jaw tightened. Ethan went rigid. Zariah whispered, "No." The man smiled. "I was wondering how long it would take for you to remember me." Her voice shook. "You're dead." He chuckled softly. "I hear that often." He leaned forward. "Jean Keda," he said, using a name she hadn't heard since childhood. "You grew beautifully." Zariah's hands trembled. "This is impossible," she whispered. "You abandoned us." "You." "I protected you," he corrected smoothly. "From a world that would have devoured you before you learned how to bite back." Li Wei stepped into frame, his presence cutting through the air. "You sent men to my house," Li Wei said coldly. "You nearly killed her." The man's smile didn't fade. "You married my daughter," he replied. "You adopted my grandson. I think we're even." Zariah felt sick. "Grandson?" Ethan swallowed hard. "That's not true," he said quietly. The man's gaze shifted, sharp, invasive. "Ethan," he said warmly. "My blood." Ethan flinched. Zariah stepped in front of him. "Don't speak to him." The man sighed, almost regretful. "I had hoped we could avoid this ugliness. But I suppose honesty is overdue." He pressed a button. Images flooded the screen. Medical labs. Genetic charts. Scans of Ethan's DNA. Zariah's stomach twisted violently. "Your son," the man continued, "has something extraordinary in his blood. A compatibility that appears once in several generations." Li Wei snapped. "You're talking about using him." The man nodded calmly. "Yes." Zariah screamed. "You will never touch my son." The man's gaze softened. Disturbingly so. "I don't need permission. Only compliance." Zariah's world tilted. "What do you want?" she whispered. The man smiled. "A trade." The word echoed. "Ethan comes with me," he said. "In exchange, your husband lives." Silence detonated. Zariah turned to Li Wei. "No," she breathed. "No, this is a lie." Li Wei didn't speak. "Ethan did." "You'd kill him?" Ethan asked, voice steady but hollow. The man nodded once. "Yes." Zariah grabbed Li Wei's hand, panic flooding her veins. "He's lying, say something, please." Li Wei finally spoke. "He doesn't lie about threats." Zariah's breath shattered. The man leaned back. "You have 72 hours, he said pleasantly. After that, Li Wei chastised publicly. Slowly, the screen went black. The lights came back on. Silence roared. Zariah collapsed into a chair, shaking violently. "This isn't real," she whispered. "This can't be real." Ethan stood slowly. "No," he said quietly. "It's real." He looked at Li Wei. "You knew this would happen." Li Wei met his gaze. "Yes." Ethan nodded. Then he turned to Zariah. "Mom," he said softly, "I need to think." Her heart shattered, because she saw it then, the way he stood straighter, calmer, older. He was already making a decision, and it terrified her. Li Wei walked to Zariah, kneeling in front of her. "I will not let him take Ethan," he said firmly. Zariah's voice broke. "He'll kill you." Li Wei held her face in his hands. "Then I'll die knowing I chose you." Tears streamed down her face. In the corner of the room, Ethan clenched his fists. And in that moment, without a word, he made a promise to himself. He would not let either of them die, even if it meant sacrificing himself. Ethan learned the art of lying the same way he learned how to fight. Quietly, patiently, without witnesses. The safe house had rules and phones. No names. No questions after midnight. And one unspoken law that weighed heavier than all the rest. No one was safe. Zariah slept lightly now. Every sound pulled her from dreams soaked in blood and fire. She woke reaching for Ethan, her fingers clutching at air before reality rushed back in. Li Wei never slept at all. Ethan noticed these things. He noticed everything. That was why he lied. The first lie. "I'm tired," Ethan said one morning, voice steady, believable. "I think I'll stay back." Zariah hesitated, worry flickering across her face. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I just need rest." She smiled, fragile, relieved, and kissed his forehead. "Okay," she whispered. "Don't go far." He watched her walk away. Then he stood up. The training room was hidden behind a false wall. Ethan had found it by accident, or maybe instinct. Weapons lined the walls. Guns, knives, batons. Targets riddled with bullet holes. Men were already there. Li Wei's men. They froze when they saw him. "You're not supposed to be here," one of them said sharply. Ethan met his gaze. "I know." Something in his eyes made the man hesitate. "I want to learn," Ethan said. Silence. Finally, one man stepped forward, tall, scarred, eyes deadened by years of violence. "Why?" he asked. Ethan didn't answer right away. "Because the truth was too heavy to say out loud. Because my mother cries when she thinks I'm asleep. Because my father is willing to die for me. Because the world wants me dead or owned." Instead, Ethan said, "Because I won't be traded like property." The man studied him for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. "The second lie. Ethan is adapting well," Li Wei said that night, reviewing security feeds. Zariah nodded, clutching a mug of untouched tea. "He hasn't been eating much," she admitted. "But he says he's fine." Li Wei glanced at the screen, a frozen frame of Ethan slipping out of a hallway at dawn. He said nothing, because Li Wei had learned to lie long before Ethan ever did. "He's strong," Li Wei said quietly. "Stronger than we think." Zariah smiled weakly. "I just want him safe." Li Wei didn't answer. Ethan trained until his hands blistered and bled. He learned how to disarm a man twice his size, how to fire a gun without flinching, how to read exits, shadows, faces, how to endure pain without crying out. At night, he lay on his narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying his grandfather's voice from the screen. "Your blood is special." Ethan clenched his jaw. "I decide what my blood means." He practiced lying in the mirror, softening his eyes, slowing his breath, masking the storm inside him. When Zariah asked how his day had been, he said, "Boring." When Li Wei asked if he was afraid, he said, "No." Both were lies. It came 3 nights later. A folded piece of paper slipped under Ethan's door. "No guards, no alarms. Just ink. You have your mother's eyes and my blood. Meet me alone if you want this to end." Coordinates followed. Ethan stared at the paper until dawn. Then he burned it and memorized everything. The third lie. "I want to help," Ethan said the next morning. Zariah looked up sharply. "How?" Ethan forced a small smile. "Let me talk to him," he said. I think he'll listen to me." Zariah shook her head immediately. "No, absolutely not." Li Wei studied Ethan carefully. "Why now?" Li Wei asked. Ethan met his gaze, steady, calm, convincing. "Because this war is about me," he said, "and wars end faster when the prize speaks." Zariah grabbed his hand. "I won't lose you," she whispered. "You won't," Ethan promised. It was the biggest lie yet. That night, Ethan packed light. A jacket, a knife, a photo he had stolen from Zariah's room, her holding him as a newborn, eyes swollen from crying, but smiling anyway. He pressed the photo to his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the dark. Then he slipped out through a passage even Li Wei didn't know he had found. By morning, Ethan was gone. The boy who was stolen learned how to fight. The boy who was protected learned how to lie. The boy who was loved chose to walk into the enemy's arms. The first thing Zariah did after losing Ethan again was stop crying. Tears were useless now. They blurred vision, softened resolve. The war she'd been dragged into didn't reward grief. It punished it. Li Wei noticed the change immediately. She stood straighter, spoke less, asked sharper questions, and watched him like she no longer trusted the ground beneath her feet. "You knew," she said one night, voice calm but deadly. "You always knew this would come to this." Li Wei didn't deny it. "Yes." Her laugh was hollow. "So, you married me knowing my son could be used as leverage?" "I married you," he said quietly, "because you were already marked." That hurt more than a lie. Li Wei took her to a hidden room beneath the safe house, a place even his men avoided. The walls were lined with old photographs, intelligence files, surveillance footage. One image froze her blood. Li Wei, younger, bloodied, standing beside a woman who looked exactly like Zariah's twin. "She was my first mistake," Li Wei said. "And your father's favorite weapon." Zariah swallowed. "You loved her." "I trusted her," he corrected. "She betrayed me." The image changed. A younger Ethan, maybe 5, being handed over in a hospital corridor. Zariah screamed. "That's impossible." "I didn't know it was him," Li Wei said, voice breaking for the first time. "I thought I was protecting a child." Her knees buckled. "You helped him take my son," she whispered. "Yes." Silence bled. "And I've spent every day since trying to atone." Zariah turned away, shaking. "You don't get redemption for that." "I don't want redemption," Li Wei said. "I want him alive." The storm outside matched the war inside her. Zariah stood by the window, rain streaking down like tears she refused to shed. "I trusted you," she said. Li Wei stepped behind her. "I know." She turned, fury and longing colliding violently. "Why do you still look at me like that?" she demanded. "After everything?" "Because loving you is the one choice I didn't regret." That broke her. She shoved him, hard. He didn't move. She hit his chest, fists pounding. He let her. Then she collapsed against him, sobbing, exhausted. He held her like the world was ending. And for a moment it was. Their kiss wasn't gentle. It was desperate. Raw. Two broken people clinging to the last thing that felt real. They didn't make love like newlyweds. They made love like survivors. Like this might be the last night before everything burned. After, Zariah lay against his chest, listening to his heart. "If you betray me again," she whispered, "I will destroy you." Li Wei kissed her hair. "I know." At dawn, Li Wei was gone. So was half the security team. So was every trace of Ethan's location. Zariah woke to silence, the dangerous kind. Then the message arrived. "I traded myself. Do not follow. Protect her." Zariah screamed. She threw the tablet across the room, shattering it. "He gave himself to them," she whispered. "He chose Ethan over me." Rage replaced grief. She turned to the remaining men. "Prepare everything," she said coldly. "We are going to war." He loved her enough to leave. She loved him enough to burn the world down. And somewhere far away, Li Wei knelt in chains, smiling to himself. Because the trap was set. Zariah didn't sleep. Sleep was for people who believed tomorrow was promised. By dawn, the safe house had transformed, weapons loaded, routes mapped, alliances activated. The men who once followed Li Wei now answered to her without question. Because something in her eyes had changed. She was no longer a woman being protected. She was a mother being hunted. "Track every channel," Zariah ordered. "I want shadows watching shadows." One of the men hesitated. "Mrs. Chen." She looked at him. "Do not call me that." The man swallowed. "Yes." "Understood." Li Wei knelt in a glass room miles away, hands cuffed, shirt torn, blood drying along his jaw. Across from him sat Zhang Keda, the man who owned nations without ever appearing on a ballot. "You traded yourself beautifully," Zhang said calmly, "for a man who claims not to believe in fate." Li Wei smiled faintly. "I believe in leverage." Zhang leaned closer. "You think she'll come?" Li Wei's smile faded. "I know she will." Zhang nodded approvingly. "Good. Then we can finally end this as a family." Ethan stood in a sterile room, dressed in black. No chains. No guards. Just choice. His grandfather watched him with open admiration. "You could rule," Zhang said. "Or you could burn with them." Ethan's voice was steady. "I don't want your world." Zhang smiled. "That's why you deserve it." Ethan closed his eyes, then nodded. "I'll do it," he said. "But on my terms." Zariah broke into the compound like a ghost with a gun. No alarms. No warnings. She reached the glass room just as Zhang raised a hand to strike Li Wei. The shot rang out. Glass shattered. Zhang staggered back, blood blooming on his shoulder. Li Wei looked up, stunned. Zariah. She didn't stop moving. Ethan appeared at the doorway. "Mom," he said quietly. Relief and fury tore through her. "Step away from him," she ordered, guns shaking. Ethan met her gaze. "I can't." Zhang laughed weakly. "Blood chooses blood." Zariah's heart cracked. "You're wrong," she whispered. Ethan stepped forward. "I chose," he said. "And I choose to end this." He turned to Li Wei. "Take her and go." Zariah screamed. "I will not leave you." Ethan smiled, small, sad groan. "You already saved me," he said. "Now let me save you." Zhang clapped slowly. "Magnificent." Zariah raised the gun, but Li Wei grabbed her wrist. "No," he whispered. "This is his decision." The guards swarmed. Smoke filled the room. When it cleared, Ethan was gone. Zhang Kada disappeared. So did his empire. Markets collapsed. Wars ignited. And somewhere in the chaos, a boy became a myth. Zariah stood on a balcony overlooking a city on the brink. Li Wei joined her, scars fresh, eyes burning. "We will find him," he said. Zariah nodded slowly. "No," she replied. "We will become what they fear." She turned to him. "This ends with blood." Li Wei took her hand. "Then let it be theirs." Far away, Ethan opened his eyes in a dark room. A voice spoke. "Welcome home, heir." Ethan smiled faintly. Not for long.